Basically, they are dolls that have a bisque head and the hair is molded in bisque also. It can be different colors, but it's a doll with a bisque head with a bisque molded hairdo. This grouping of Parian dolls have no extra decorations in their hair or on their shoulder plate. This is a very simple little doll. She's small. She has a rather average hairdo, white shift, bad body, but she's a cute little thing. And here's a side view of her. No decorations on this little gal on either her hair or her shoulder, but she does have a beautiful outfit, old clothes, and wonderful shoes. The braid on this doll's head looks like it could be an extra decoration, but since it's her hair, it is not considered an extra decoration. She has very white skin, very rosy cheeks, pierced ears, and a gorgeous dress. We just talked about the doll on the left of this picture, but I wanted to show her again with a great big china head. They both have the exact same hairdo. You hardly ever see that, but here it is. This doll belonged to Barbara Curry at the time I took this picture. She was in competition. I don't know how she did. Beautiful little doll, curls on her forehead, wonderfully dressed in a coat. Another of Barbara Curry's dolls. Beautiful hairdo. You will see a different doll with the same hairdo later in the program. I copied this picture out of one of our dolly magazines. Cute little doll, haven't ever seen it in person. A little boy this time. He looks to be about 3 or 4 years old. Cute little outfit. His hair is very, very plain. Of course, there are no decorations in it. This is one of the first Parians I ever bought. I bought it right out of an Antique Doll Collector magazine from Matrix, and I was not unhappy when I got it. I think she's wonderful. I can't even remember when I bought this doll. I bought it specifically because it had no decorations in its hairdo. It was still a Parian and had the brown hair instead of the lighter hair. This is a very early doll. I bought this especially for the dress. Early in my Parian buying career, the dress was so cute, but the hairdo is typical of very early Parians. Another blonde hairdo, which is very common with these dolls. Fat little face with rosy, rosy cheeks and a lovely gown. I have several dolls now that are just single pictures of a single doll. These are dolls that I had seen at either convention or out of one of the magazines, but I did want you to see them. This particular little boy has the same kind of boy haircut that we saw before, but his hair is a little bit more curly. Another little doll with a very plain hairdo. Even a very plain doll can win a blue ribbon. And boy, this doll certainly had a lot of competition, but her outfit is wonderful. We have an adult male here. He's a small doll, but he has a winter suit on that's black with a white shirt underneath. What's unique about this doll, though, is his hairdo. I have never seen this hairdo on any other male doll. I took this picture at convention a number of years ago. This doll is unique in that it has a hairdo that is very, very like what you usually find on paper mache dolls. The French also made Parian dolls. This little boy is a Parian. He is a product of France. He has a very plain face and a plain hairdo of a little boy. One of my favorite dolls. This lady is 28 inches tall. She has no decorations in her hair, except for hair, of course. Very white complexion, rosy cheeks, a beautiful dress. Love this doll. A very special girl now, mostly because of her hair. It is dark brown and it has a glaze on it, so it makes it shine. Otherwise, she's a very plain little girl. She's got a beautiful dress somebody made for her in blue. This lady is a recent addition to my collection. She's a beautiful big girl with yellow hair that is the usual color you see in Parian dolls. This particular Parian doll has glass eyes, which is very unusual when you have a hairdo that does not have any special decorations. But she is a beautiful doll. If you have glass eyes, you're going to pay more for the doll. You're seeing two dolls that look like they are twins, and in fact they are. One has brown eyes and the other has blue eyes. Their dresses are a little bit different, but basically the same pattern. They're very, very attractive dolls, and usually they are presented as twins, but there are some differences in the face and in the hair and the hair color. This beautiful doll deserves a better dress than the one she's wearing. I've just never gotten around to it. Her hairdo is full and curly, and she's quite big. She's about 26 inches tall. This lady has a very plain hairdo. It's blonde. She's in a dress that is polka dotted with a blue background and a big white collar. I call her the Moon Goddess. Earlier in this program, you saw a doll that was identical to this one, at least the hairdo, and it belonged to Barbara Curry. This one belongs to me with a much plainer dress, but she does have glass eyes. Another moon goddess. This one is dressed very elaborately, and she's a very large doll. I wish I owned her. Another little dolly with a tousled curly hairdo, but she does have glass eyes. A little boy with wind-blown blonde hair. However, he does have painted eyes this time, so it's a little bit downgraded than if he had glass eyes. This is a fairly new doll in my collection. She hasn't really found her place yet. She has an elaborate hairdo, but you can't see it because I didn't get a picture of the back. However, her dress is gorgeous. This is a very plain-looking little doll. She has white skin and painted eyes, but her hairdo is interesting in that it is vertical curls all the way from cheek to cheek. Her dress is quite pretty. This little dolly has blonde hair that is so pale it's almost the same color as her white skin. However, her hair does fall down upon her shoulders, and she has glass eyes. This doll has such a pretty face. She has that very, very pale blonde hair that is almost the same color as her white skin, and two big curls that go down behind her neck and down onto her shoulders. The final doll that has no decorations in her hair or on her shoulder plate. This grouping of dolls have extra decorations on their head or their shoulder plate. This is by far the biggest of the groupings of dolls. Now we're heading into the dolls that have a decoration on their shoulder plate or on their head, or sometimes both. This very first one here has the Alice in Wonderland hairdo, and it just consists of a headband that goes from one ear over the top of the head and down, and that's it. 15 or so years ago, I went to a Fraser's auction, and that's where I bought this doll. And I was bidding on her, and there was another lady bidding on her, and I went up to $600, and I was going to drop out, but she dropped out first, so I bought the doll. And then a few minutes later, she wanted to buy the doll from me at what I originally paid for it. And when I told her no, that I wanted the doll, she really got angry. So sometimes you run into people like this. This doll has a beautiful dress on. Her hairdo has no decorations on it other than her hair, but she does have a decorated shoulder plate, even though it is white and it really doesn't show up well. That's how she is considered. This particular doll mold is quite common. You've seen these dolls probably everywhere. They're probably the most common of the Parian dolls. Rosa Bonheur was an artist in the 1800s. She liked to draw horses and loved to go to horse races, but in those days, women were not allowed to go to horse races. So Rosa would dress as a man and go to the horse races and draw the horses. This doll was produced by the company who made it as Rosa Bonheur. And so almost always you see this doll dressed as a man, but I've also seen her in sparkly, beautiful gowns. The hair of this doll consists of just little braids on either side from the top of her head, with bows on either side, and the rest of the hair is in a page boy. The first time I judged as an official antique judge, this was one of the categories that I had judged. The doll in the red dress belonged at the time to Barbara Curry, but I did not know Barbara Curry. I thought that doll was wonderful, and I gave it a blue ribbon. I didn't meet Barbara for months after that. When she found out that I was the one that gave that doll a blue ribbon, we became fast friends. This beauty has all kinds of wonderful flowers in her hair and a snood in back. Unfortunately, we don't have a back picture of her. This beautiful lady has a gold-trimmed blue ribbon running all through her hair. It is very, very attractive. She's also wearing a blue dress. Glass eyes this time. This beautiful girl has a white dress and beads around her neck, and the only other thing she has on her hair is a big black bow. Pink flowers are adorning this doll's hair, and they extend down the back. This lady has two holes above her hairline that you can place a necklace in. And she also has a bow at the top of her hair. What I wanted people to look at is especially the back view, where you can see how beautifully the curls look. Another lady with a black bow on the top of her head, but if you look at her back view, you will see massive, well-defined curls. Glass-eyed lady that has a decorative shoulder plate and a bow in her hair. However, if you look at the back view of this doll, you will see that the tendrils from the bow have been broken off. I wanted to include my own doll, which is the exact same mold as the one that was right before it. I wanted to show everybody what those tendrils look like that come down from the bow on my doll They have not been broken off. We have here the gold beads lady. Now the gold paint would flake off the doll over time, so we have almost completely lost her necklace, but the beads in her hair are perfect. Two beautiful dolls here. The one on the left in the green dress has flowers in her hair on the side by her ears and going up to the top of her head. And then she has just the black bow on top. This doll in the gray dress is the same mold as what we saw in the green dress, but this time she has no flowers in her hair and does have just the black bow. The doll in the coral pink dress has a band around the top of her head, but it's not even a solid band. It's dots going across the top of her head to form the band. This gorgeous lady has a black bow on top of her head and just in general curls all over. She does have glass eyes and she has a gorgeous gown. No glass eyes on this lady, but otherwise she's absolutely a gorgeous doll. Beautiful gown, she has a snooden back, she's got tassels hanging down, and a bow right above her forehead. What else could you ask for? This elegant lady has a very plain hairdo. Her hair is pulled up into a bun, and there is a black bow that surrounds the bun, and that's all there is. The crown is actually in her hair, although there's no other decorations in her hair. This is a very, very elegant lady. I was attracted to Parian Dolls when I first saw this baby doll. She has a plain hairdo with a black ribbon through her hair, and she represents a baby or a toddler. She's got an off-shoulder gown, and you can see her sweet little shoulders. This little girl has a rather complicated hairdo this time. Still, it's just using a black ribbon to emphasize the curls. She has a beautiful dress. You saw earlier in this program a doll that had this exact same mold as this one does. This is my doll, and she's very, very elegant. The hairdo is very, very complicated, as are the bands in her hair and the crown. The two separate decorations in this doll's hairdo are the band of jewels that is right on the top of her head, and then a black bow in back. This doll's head belonged to Nancy Palazzolo. She has a hairdo that's mostly combed back from her face and in curls and back. But I want you to look at that gorgeous shoulder plate. Look at how it is decorated. This doll is one of the first Parians I ever bought. She has pink flowers decorating her hair and a necklace on the shoulder plate and an absolutely gorgeous gown made by Jean Steele of Long Island. A black spot painted on the crown of this doll can also be found on China head dolls and paper mache dolls. This particular doll is a Parian doll, and when I have her on display, she wears a wig. I would say that this doll's shoulder plate is the big thing on this head because the hairdo is not that unusual. This pretty girl is really, really tall. She's over 30 inches. The only thing she has that is fancy is the bow in her hair, and it's blue. This lady is almost as tall as the doll that you saw right before this. She's very pretty, not much on decorations other than a bow in the back, but she's wearing a beaded necklace. This little lovely is one of my very, very favorite Parian dolls. I can't explain why other than just the sweetness of her face and her dress. This doll is a perfect example of a high-end Parian doll. She doesn't have glass eyes. If she did, she'd be the highest end it could possibly be. I had a difficult time getting this particular doll out so I could take a picture of her. Unfortunately, she has other dolls around her, but she's a very nice doll. She's got glass eyes. She's very tall, as you can see. You've seen another doll in this program, basically the same doll as this one. This doll has a beautiful decorated shoulder plate and it shows up really well. She also has a bow on the side of her head and a band over it. The two colors of this doll's dress are only because of the lighting when I was taking the pictures. This doll has beautiful beaded hairdo with pink flowers, and you're seeing quite a few visions of her. She's quite tall. Beautiful curls all around this lady's hairline and a crown. What more could you ask for? This dolly has a black bow on top of her head and big fat curls in the back. She also has the two holes on either side of the very top of her head where there is jewelry that is attached. This is a little 10-inch gal that has a decorated shoulder plate and a very, very fancy hairdo with curls running down on her shoulders. Another pretty little gal with a snood on the back of her head and a blue fabric crown that goes all the way around her shoulders and encloses the snood. I've had this head for many, many years. Last year at convention, I found a dealer that had a body that would fit the head. She put the head on the body, and then I had a complete doll. And I went into Theriel's Florence and Me catalog and bought her this dress. And now she's sitting up with all the other Parians and not just a head. This Parian has wonderful decorations just above her forehead, a rose, a butterfly, and some greenery. Glass eyes this time, and a red-pink band going around the top of her head. She also has a curl that's laying down on her left shoulder on the shoulder plate. This sweet little girl has a blue ribbon on the top of her head and a gorgeous, what looks to be an original dress. Another big 30-inch lady, and with glass eyes. Her little tiny decoration is just that little bow at the very top of her head. What makes this doll so different is that she has a black hairdo rather than a blonde or brown hairdo. She does have glass eyes and a blue band across the top of her curls. The pink bow in the back of this lady's head is very, very pretty, but boy, is her hair color different. This is a gray-haired Parian. Usually Parians have a very pretty face, but not this doll. She has a very unusual face, and the back of her hair decorations are the same color as her hair. This little lady has been entered 3 times in local competitions, and each time she took a blue ribbon. So I'm thinking about one of these days I'm going to take her to convention and see how she does. This Parian is only 10 inches tall, and she's wearing a beautiful, elaborate gown. Her hairdo is very, very plain. She does have that decorated shoulder plate. Unfortunately, it's white, so it doesn't really stand out. You've seen my doll that is the same mold as this doll earlier in the program. This one shows a doll that was on auction about 6 or 7 years ago. And there was a bidding war, and this particular doll went up to $49,000. This dark-haired beauty was at one time part of Sheila Needles' collection. Sheila sold this doll to me, and I have her now. Glass eyes and curls laying over this doll's shoulder, plus she has some stars and various other decorations in her hair. Beautiful doll. The bottom of the hairdo of this doll is all over her shoulders. Plus, she has a beautiful pendant that comes down right in front. No decorations in this dolly's hair, but she has a beautiful shoulder plate with a big pink bow. This pretty lady has a molded-on necklace, and she also has a gold decoration on the right side of her head. No decorations in this dolly's hair, but she has a highly decorated shoulder plate. The only decoration on this doll's hair is a string of gold beads that are just up a little bit from her forehead. This doll has a comb up on top of her head. She's a beautiful doll, gorgeous dress. I always think of her as the boss lady. This elegant Parian has the same hairdo as a doll we had earlier in this program wearing a black dress. Now the dress here is orange and off her shoulders. A multitude of corkscrew curls are all over this lady's hairdo. However, she also has a band of flowers on top of her head. And if you look at her dress, it is absolutely exquisite. This little cling Parian has golden hair and a great big flower with leaves right on top of her head. This gorgeous dolly has a very complicated hairdo, but she does have a decoration between the curls on the very top of her head. She also has glass eyes and totally white complexion. We saw a doll earlier in the program that was almost as nice as this one. But this doll has decorations in her hair, and she has curls down onto her shoulders, and she has glass eyes. The gown on this Parian lady is extraordinary. She's also gotten a blue ribbon sometime in the past, has wonderful decorations in her hair, and a beautiful pendant. This beauty has curls coming down onto her forehead and a back-swept hairdo that forms curls in the back. She also has a band that is at the top of the curls and back and a couple of bands right above her crown. We've seen a doll very similar to this one in this program, but they are a little different. This one has a pink bow on the right side of her hairdo and a blue band that goes all the way over the top of her head. The shoulder plate is quite spectacular with a pink ruffle down into her bodice and a necklace that is molded on. Tight curls on this dolly. She does have two decorations underneath her ears. Here we have the Dresden Gentleman. That has been his given name over years and years and years. The only decoration he has is a decorated shoulder plate. His hair is just special manly curls. This last picture finishes up the section on decorated shoulder plates and hair. These Parian dolls have either a hat, scarf, or a bonnet on their heads. This little doll is about 4 inches tall, and she has a little black hat on her head. I bought this doll a number of years ago, attracted by the blue bonnet that she has on her head with a great big blue bow. But her hair is also hanging down on her shoulders, which is something that's very unusual. This doll has a very, very nice elaborate hat on, and she is a beautiful doll, but I've always been worried about this doll because the necklace is orange and on the hat is a pink, and the clash bothers me. We see the hat on this doll fairly often, and this would be one of the most common dolls that it would be on. But sometimes the face is completely different as well as the hair. I've had this doll for many, many years, bought it maybe 20 years ago. And it was so unusual when I bought it that I thought I was buying a rare doll. And I hadn't seen another doll like it until just a few years ago, and I have seen several since then. Took a picture of this Parian at convention many years ago. She's not only got a hat on her head, she also has a decorated shoulder plate. This lady has a scarf on her head, trimmed in lace, and she's wearing a very pretty necklace with a pendant. This doll came out of the same mold, but she is very different. She's brighter colored, and she has different clothes on. We have here a glass-eyed Parian jockey. This doll belonged to Gene Steele on Long Island, New York, and it is made to represent a little boy who has a white hat on, or grayish hat, with a blue scarf around it. This is a much more elaborate doll and often one of the most beautiful. She has white feathers on one side of her head and a pink scarf on the other side of her head and a snood holding her hairdo together. My doll, out of the same mold, and she is a beautiful one with a gorgeous gown. Since this doll mold is not rare, I thought you might like to see just a few more of them. I learned a great deal from this particular doll. I went ahead and sold her to someone who wanted to buy her from me, and I have always regretted it. I am not a collector that can sell my dolls. This pretty little girl is out of the same mold of Gene Steele's dolls that we saw a little bit ago. But this time she's a little girl, and she's wearing a pretty little striped dress and a white-gray hat with a pink ribbon around it. This little glass-eyed boy has a wide-brimmed hat that is sitting somewhat back on his head. This little boy doesn't look very happy about the hat on his head. The folded scarf on this lady's head is very attractive. This Parian head has black glazed hair and a small red hat on top. This baby Parian has a ruffly bonnet on. Have you ever seen such a pretty hat? This doll looks like a medieval maiden. I took this picture at a regional convention in the competition room, and I think he deserves his blue ribbon. This doll is my most recent purchase of a Parian doll, and I think I did very well. And she does end this whole program on Parian dolls. Thank you very much for your kind attention to this Parian program.